Hi, and welcome to our latest podcast on biodiversity. Question is around construction. Is it important to the construction sector or not? And in today's episode, we've got Bob Procter from Biodiversity UK. So, Bob, if you'd like to tell us a little bit more about yourself and the business.
Well, I won't dwell and talk about myself, really, but I'm happy to tell you about Biodiversity UK. It's a fairly new business that came out of a personal passion for nature that I have, and my concern as to the fact that we've lost 47% or almost half of our biodiversity in the UK in the last 50 years, which is scary. And I've got children, well, they're not children, but my sons, and I've got grandchildren. I want them to grow and enjoy the biodiversity that I've enjoyed. The other reason for my creating Biodiversity UK is that I ran an SME company. I've run SME companies for the last 30 years. So I'm passionate about business as well. So I'm really wanted to bring both of those passions together. So I created Biodiversity UK, which will secure land either through purchase or through partners. And on this land, we will create a series of biodiversity projects, every one of them and I will say guaranteed, but they're designed to increase the biodiversity on that site. And why would a business be interested in that? Because it ticks so many boxes for them in terms of ESG strategies, in terms of having a great story to tell and demonstrating to their customers or clients that look here, we're a business that cares about this, we understand the problem, we want to be part of it, and we want to be part of the solution for it. And so I created a platform for businesses to engage in those projects, because they're too busy running their own businesses. I understand that, or I saw that, because that's what I used to do. If I give them the platform and we secure the land, create the projects, run the projects, they don't have to worry about it. Yes, they're investing in supporting us, but they get all the benefits of those projects, like data. We provide them with that. We provide them with amazing stories for their marketing teams to get their hands on. And we provide them with things like opportunities to volunteer on the project sites. And in some cases, some companies are talking to us about using them just for the well-being of their employees. Let's go spend half a day in nature and things like that. So it's a platform to connect business to environmental projects.
So, I mean, it's a great introduction, really, into it. It's obviously, it matters. It matters a lot to you personally, and obviously to the people around you. I'm interested, obviously, what you've been doing then with links to construction, and do you think that it has a link? Where do you think that link is, and how can it benefit the industry, do you think?
Well, look, for me, the construction sector, and it's a surprise to me, is the biggest culprit when it comes to carbon emissions. Everybody jumps on the thought that it's the airlines that are the ones that are the biggest guilty parties, but construction accounts for almost, I think it's over 40% of the carbon emissions. And if you start thinking along those lines, it's almost like a little light bulb goes on, and of course, because right through their supply chain. The bricks have to be made, bricks have to be transported, bricks have to be used, etc. And every single element of any sort of build at all, which is why, of course, the construction sector, certainly the bigger boys, are very proactive in this. They've got to do everything with to get their EPDs, and otherwise they're not going to be winning the big contracts and things like that. So the big boys are all over this, and rightly so. As far as other companies in the operating in the sector, I think they are lagging behind, and I understand why they're lagging behind. This is not it's not usually part of their business. They're, like you said, Danny, you're busy building and running your company and things like that. But coming down, well, already on track and coming down the track is a raft of regulations and what can I call it? People are going to be mandated, that the industry is going to be mandated in such a way. Developers already are. They've got everybody. I think most people now know about biodiversity net gain, and any developer needs to deliver a minimum of 10% on every project. Otherwise, they're just not going to get planning permission. I think that percentage is going to increase. I think everybody thinks that. I just think construction, more than anybody, more than any other sector at the moment, needs to lead on, I'll call them environmental projects. They need to be seen to be proactive. They need to be seen to, or not only be seen to be creating or engaging with biodiversity friendly practices and projects, but they're going to have to prove that what they're doing or what they are involved in is delivering a positive result, and that's a difficult thing to do. Fortunately, I'm aware of that, which is why Biodiversity UK can solve that problem for a lot of, we'll solve that problem for our supporters. We call them supporters rather than clients. But I think the construction sector is going to be under, and probably is to some extent already, under real pressure from procurement professionals, from frameworks, where they're going to insist that this forms part of your tender application or whatever, and they are going to insist on you or construction operators, they're going to insist that you're able to prove it. And that's going to hit the whole supply chain. The other factor for me, and the pressure on construction, well, not just construction actually, but is the fact that when a government decides that we're going to be net zero by 2050, or I think is it 75% by 2032, something like that. They keep changing their mind, of course, and that might change when the new government comes in. But when a government makes a statement like that, there is no way they can achieve that unless they decarbonise almost every company in the country. And I think that's what's coming down the track. Once you start talking about decarbonisation rather than carbon offsetting and things like that, that's serious stuff for companies of all sizes.
Caroline,
How do you think that?
Sorry,
I was just going to ask you, how do you think that'll impact the smaller organisations in the sector? Because you can talk about the big boys, and obviously they've got the capital and the resource there to be able to action a lot of this. But when it comes down to your smaller builders, how's that going to impact on them?
I think it's going to have a huge impact on them. It's inevitable. But if you think that the government makes that bold statement or sets that target, and then the guys that are winning the contracts are adhering to the specification within the framework, and then all of a sudden that trickle down comes, those guys are looking for all their supply chain to make small gains. Those small gains or deliver a small result add up to a big result to the guys who are going to win contracts, and that's where the pressure will come. That's where the guys who normally quote, maybe even not even on tender, but when somebody says, "Well, we've got to get 3 quotes and then we'll decide," and things like that. What those companies are doing in this arena will be the difference between winning and losing contracts. I'm convinced of it. The reason I'm convinced of it is I went out to talk to bid writers, procurement professionals, and I asked them. I've got an even better one, and I'll come back to that. But I asked them what percentage weighting was given to environmental projects and things like that within most specification, and it used to be 5 to 10%, pretty much across the board. It's now climbing, and I'm told that those bid writers are finding weightings as high as 20+%. Now that's massive. That is absolutely massive. But if companies get on the front foot, they can head this off already. They've got to be aware of it and be actively doing something. If they're not, it'll be very difficult for them to catch up. Very difficult. So yeah, I think it's going to impact on Joe Blogs Limited for sure.
Yeah, fair point. It's a good point. Obviously, we can bring Caroline into this a little bit. I know we spoke obviously from a local authority point of view. Are you seeing any pressure into local authority for changes regarding biodiversity and carbon reduction, etc.? And have you got any examples of what that looks like in what you do?
Yeah, I mean, he comes across all the strategies that we're running as the authority. We're signed up to kind of being the net zero and getting to a point where the assets that are in the council, that are under the council's control, are obviously not in the same realms as what they were 20 years ago. So all of the new builds, we've gone away from kind of gas, and we're trying to put in as many renewables as possible. Vehicles have gone to electric, and it's a slow process because there is a lot of assets there that need the upgrades and need to be able to done, and also with the new builds, trying to get to a point of having the sustainable aspect at the forefront of the designs, whilst also offering the right value for money for residents and for the local government. So it's the will is there to be able to do it. It's just finding that balance to be able to make it happen in a lot of cases. And I think that will be where the struggle comes from for a lot of companies and developers, and particularly local authorities. Is obviously money is tight at the moment, and it's how do we find that balance between doing the right thing to get the net zero gains, but also offer the right value for money. And I think it's striking that balance there that a lot of particularly smaller companies are going to need to address in a creative way.
I agree 100% with that, and the pressure that local authorities are under is immense. It's why I shrink or almost cringe when I hear big statements from governments about net zero and things like that. And I don't think most most people understand the ramifications of a target like that being stuck on the wall. It puts a lot of businesses under pressure, and that's going to continue, because the closer we get to those dates, the more intense the scrutiny and the pressure will be to make it happen. I think at the moment, when I look at, forgive me, I'm coming back to biodiversity here, but when I look at the Wild West, as I call it, at the moment, where you've got people who out of nowhere are suddenly saying, plant trees, plant trees, plant trees. And they're making a lot of money charging people to plant trees. Where my concern with that is, one, anybody subscribing to that, are they getting the right information? I.e., these are the trees we're planting them in the right place, we're managing them moving forward, etc., etc., etc. And by the way, you can claim your you'll be able to get your carbon credits from them. Well, I know that's not going to happen as easily as it sounds. And when I see funding given to projects, and those projects are followed up on after 3, 5, and 10 years, and you see some of the reports from people, from the experts or those tasked with going and checking on those projects, there's so many of them that have just been left and they're in total disarray. They're not managed, and so there'll be no carbon credits or anything made available. They just won't become credits, because they won't be acceptable for the standard or whatever. I'll probably use the wrong word there, but and again, I know this is true because the insurance sector is now offering policies to companies to protect the fact that they've paid thousands of pounds for carbon credits, and they can insure against not getting those credits.
So what you're saying then is, what we're seeing, that especially with construction, that it's, with it not being the forefront of what we're trying to do, it's just a way of winning work, and then when they've won it, it just gets left, and then with no real plan on how to look after it later down the line. So that's why we're seeing trees not growing properly, beaten up, broken,
Yep.
and it's the wrong way to do
Yeah.
it. So yeah, in actual fact, we're kind of doing the right thing, and then by not looking after it, it's just causing more work later down
Well,
the
we
line.
think we're doing.
No,
We
no.
think, I mean, these companies who are paying for this, they've got very good intention. Absolutely. I don't think I've come across any company who wouldn't want to do the right thing and be seen to be doing the right thing. But those people who are running these projects, I call it's like the Wild West, because they're all driving like mad, racing across to stick their stakes in the ground and whatever, and they haven't thought it front to back. Biodiversity UK, and I'm not doing a sales job here, but knowing what we know, we've made sure that any project that we run is a legacy project. It's going to be there for a long, long time. Somebody once said to me, "What are you, a not-for-profit organisation?" I said, "No, we're not. Absolutely not, because I don't want to be fighting for funding 5 years down the line that I don't get, and the projects just fade and disappear." So what we're
What
doing,
kind of projects do you work on, Bob?
It can be anything from, well, I've got a massive one about to be rolled out, and it's not a new idea. Other people have done it, but we're doing it a very different way. But we can. I'll tell you about the big project in a second. But we can do anything from, and it depends on which site. For instance, we've got like an urban project in and around Scarborough, which we run with the local community groups. Now that's for a construction company to get, or the sector to get involved in something like this gold dust, because it's social value straight away. Other projects include things like we can create wildlife ponds, we can create or we'll sow or plant wildflower meadows and mini meadows, which we're doing with schools at the moment, and that's good. We've got an ongoing project where we are planting or growing from from acorns, 10,000 oak saplings, and then we'll donate those to schools and community groups and things like that. And then we have species-specific projects and things like that. So like this last weekend, I spent some time volunteering on one of our partner sites to plant 1,200 dog violets, which are the favourite food source of fritillary butterflies. So the range of projects is far and wide. That I've got another one lined up, which I'll pretty much know at the end of this week, and that's going to result in a community orchard, so that that community is going to benefit from being able to just go and get apples whenever they want and things like that. But the biggest project that we're about to undertake is going to be called the Great British Pollinator Highway. And we are going to create a highway the length and breadth of this country, where on thousands of sites we will plant and sow the right seeds and plants to attract pollinators. And those pollinators, which are crucial to our food chain and to our basically our own existence on this planet. We'll put the right plants in the right places and get them as close together as possible so that bees can fly, butterflies can fly, etc., etc. Now, that's not a new idea. There's plenty of good practice going on. However, there's one major difference. All those other projects do not provide data from those projects. They might do the odd count, but that's not the most accurate of ways of collecting data. I'm not saying it's not a good way, because we do counts, but on this particular project, on every site or every pin in the map, we will have technology on site that's counting bees. They're doing some more research at the moment, research and development, so that they can do it for butterflies and then bats and etc., etc. But we'll have that data, which is absolute gold dust.
So if I just jump in here then, just to bring it to a construction link then, if we were, obviously as tenders and bids are coming through the world of construction, you have to show data and you have to show how you're going to achieve X. And that's really hard to do, with social value, especially in the past. It's always been like, we will donate £1 million towards doing X. The problem is it's never been
Mm.
done. It gets swallowed up and never to be seen again. I guess what the difference here is that as tenders now are getting tighter, you've got to be able to prove that you can show that. So basically, what you're offering people is an unbelievable opportunity to not just get the data to help with biodiversity, you're also putting lots and lots of social value in there as well, because I'm guessing this will attract things like schools and things to help learn about it and all this stuff. So it
Exactly.
sounds incredible. It sounds like what you're building is the perfect place for people to come to Biodiversity UK and say, we need to achieve X. Can you help us do that? And you could ultimately build
Exactly that.
a bespoke service for them. Am I right? Am I on the right lines with that?
You of course. I mean, it will. What we will do is we'll run these projects anyway. But then, as you just described, and we're already getting inquiries. Companies will come to us with an idea that would result in us creating. Sorry about that. That's Archie. Which will result in us creating a bespoke project for them. Again, I've got to knit all the tick boxes have got to be brought together. So if we do a project, we guarantee to increase the biodiversity. Biodiversity wins. If we do a project, wherever possible, we will add not just environmental value, but social value to that project. Big tick there. That's great for construction companies who want to demonstrate social value. On top of that, we are putting together an education pack so that we engage with the kids in schools. And we've already got something going on with 52 schools in and across North Yorkshire. I'm absolutely convinced by the end of the year we'll have 200 plus schools involved in this. And then it's just going to climb and climb and climb and climb. And all these boxes are being ticked. The key to it all, I believe, and the thing that we've worked hardest on, and it costs us money, but is being able to prove it. I can tell a great story. Loads of people come up with a great story. Prove it. Show me. So, yeah, we'll use technology. We will use our own physical account. We've got an in-house reporting strategy and schedule, which we will adhere to strictly. And yeah, we'll just build it up because it needs to be quality data as well. And it needs to be displayed in a way that if you were my customer, you are one of our supporters, it has to be delivered to you in a way that, one, you can understand it, and two, let's be honest, makes you look fantastic. And that's exactly what we'd want to do. Leaving you to get on and run your business.
Do you find working with the construction sector that it's fully understood what biodiversity is and what the impacts are, what people need to do, and I guess it's how do we educate the sector if that's the case, and where do they find information about that and learn more about how they can make an impact and help meet those targets?
So that's a good question. The truth of that answer is no, I don't think they understand it all. And again, I've got great sympathy for them because they're running the business, and I get that. What I guess I'm saying is that it's organising our companies or businesses like ours that are going to make their lives easier. However, and this is one of the reasons I agreed to do the podcast, the more we talk about it, the more information that gets out there, and the more that the industry or sector itself engages in talking about biodiversity amongst themselves, then the better. And the quicker that happens, the better. But what I will say is, whilst the big boys have been very proactive on this because they have to, they have no choice. I think it's crucial for the well-being of the sector that all types of or all sizes of business operating within this sector get the opportunity to do something. They can't do everything, but they can do something, and they should be seen to be doing something. Not just because it's a great story to tell, although that is very important, because they're talking now to a much better or much more knowledgeable end user. Customers know, customers expect, employees know. They want to go and work for a company that has certain values. That's not me just saying it. That's recruitment and HR professionals telling me this is what they're looking for. And I think that's a good thing. I really do think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely. And I think people have got more of a shift towards the environmental impacts that everyday life is taking now. It's
absolutely.
at the forefront of everybody's minds.
Yeah. And I think
I,
that's going to grow. I do. Sorry.
yeah, absolutely. No, it's fine. I was just gonna ask you, Bob. I mean, if you let's say I was a construction company and
Yeah.
I'm very new to biodiversity and this side of the business, where
Yeah.
would I start?
Oh, right. Pick the phone to me. I'll come and talk to you. I can't talk to everybody. There's a mountain of information. The internet's fabulous, isn't it? Absolutely fabulous for finding things out. There's a mountain of information out there about biodiversity and the benefits of engaging with projects, and even collaborating with other companies operating the sector. Find out what they're doing. I just think that there's more information available out there than there has ever been. But I look at Biodiversity UK not just as a biodiversity company. I look from the business side as a previous owner of companies, and I think, well, what would I do, or what could I do if I owned a company? I used to own a water cooler company, so we always asked round our boardroom table, what if? What if? So, what if we decided that we were going to do something with biodiversity? We would have been all over this. Absolutely. I know, without a doubt. And we would have been all over this more than some of the other projects that we got involved in. But this is in the UK. This is about biodiversity and the biodiversity loss in the UK. And it matters to our kids and our grandkids. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah, it's a strong enough purpose. It really is, and I think what you'll find with construction. Look, these platforms like today is like you say, is to help get that message across. What we'll find with construction, it will be we'll have the leaders of it. We'll have the ones that always want to promote it and do best, but then we'll have the backlog, the ones that are forced to do it. And I think that's what you find within our sector. It's like, who can be the last, and it will eventually get pushed through. With construction in general, there's a lot going on in it at the moment. And what you have is obviously the side from like what you see, which is you're going to have to get everything in order because we're going to get left behind. But the construction world is still dealing with the aftermath of the Grenfell tragedy and the issues around the
Yeah,
Building Safety Act and the general
yeah,
compliance. There is so much going on that it's hard for
yeah,
everybody to kind of go which route we're going to do in. I think the work you're doing is amazing. I really do, and it's made me think of it a lot different. And I feel it's a lot easier to get to that point than it was. Whereas before it was a bit like, who's doing anything about it? Just having you there
yeah,
available
yeah,
in Yorkshire. This is the Constructing Excellence Yorkshire and Humber podcast. We couldn't have anyone better that's in the middle of Yorkshire to help us guide through that. And I think if anyone's listening, well, hopefully people will be listening, and they want to tap into that world, that they've got somebody very local. And I know that you've spoken to other voices as well, haven't you? Within
I have.
the industry. So yeah, no,
Can I just say? Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, of
Can I just
course.
say that
No.
I've also learned a great deal from the construction sector. I really have, to understand some of the pressures that they're already under, allows me to put what I'm offering or what I put together in context, and that helps me enormously. I don't waste people's time, or I'm finding that I'm not wasting people's time. And I think the greatest byproduct of what I'm doing was shown pretty much from conversations with you, Danny, and one or two others along the way, that by involving your business or your company in biodiversity projects, it opens up an absolutely huge amount of opportunities. These opportunities become available to deliver social value, and the construction sector, more than any sector I've come across, is looking to be able to deliver social value. It's clear that that's important to them. I've only ever had one person turn to me and say, "Oh, well, that's just fluff and cotton wool, isn't it?" So that was a quick meeting, I'll tell you. But there you go. Of course, you'll have your detractors and your doubters and everything like that. But the companies that get on the front foot of this are going to benefit enormously, because they'll have great stories to tell.
Yeah.
And if we put it in, if we deliver to our supporters, that story in a way backed up with proven and auditable data, then it's win-win. Absolutely.
Yeah, it absolutely is. No, it's really good. So look, going on to then the next stage, if how can people get hold of you? What's the best way to contact you? And what would the initial consultation look like if somebody from the construction world was to make contact?
Right. You can find my contact details on our website. In terms of what would the first steps be, I would go out and I would give people the time to understand not just what Biodiversity UK does, but allow me to understand what their goals are, what they need to achieve. And that may well be, I've got to be able to demonstrate that we're doing something good with the environment. Or I've got to be able to demonstrate the fact that we're providing social value. How do I do it? Those are very easy discussions for me to have. Of course, at the end of the day, there's a cost to that, and not to the consultation, but a cost to getting involved with Biodiversity UK projects. But we've been very careful and mindful not to make this too expensive, because we'll just kill it if we do that. It's not just we've got more than one. Of course, we want to build a great company. Of course, we do. We want to employ people. We want to provide jobs. We want to be able to grow this company in any way, shape, or form. But that's not the only purpose. We've a greater purpose than even that, and that is to reverse this trend of biodiversity loss and increase biodiversity on any site that we operate. So when I come to have a discussion with you, Caroline, and a first consultation, I'll be telling a great story before we even get going. If you then want to be part of that great story, we'll show you how. And if you don't, and that's okay, that really is okay if it's not for you. But I do think, because of the pressures from procurement professionals and that supply chain, people are going to have to get involved. They're not going to have they're just not going to have a choice at some point.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's just about how we bring them along on that journey, because it matters to everybody, and it matters to the futures of all our lives. So it is striking that balance between all of the really important aspects of our industry, and making sure that biodiversity is up there, and moving things along. So if I was a construction company again, I'm going to come back to you with this one. What are the small steps that I could take as a first thing? What would you say kind of the top couple of things as a company that I could do to kind of make an to make an impact, to incorporate into my projects? What would be the top things that I could do to make that first step?
Well, if that was involving Biodiversity UK, if you took that step to come and talk to us, I should have made it quite plain earlier that if you become one of our supporters, you are supporting every project that we do. So it's not just one project you're buying. So you'll be involved in every single project that we do, which means you're going to have a lot of great stories to tell, and we'll feed you those stories. If you then want to do something specific just for your company, then we'll have a different discussion. And I think that's what's going to happen quite a lot, actually, because I think people are very happy to get on board and support these projects and get involved, and then they want their own projects. And that's fine. That's fine. I've spoken to people before who've said to me, and you might recall this, Dan, yeah, we'd be very interested, and then we'll get to a point where we'll want to do something on a grand scale, maybe even to the tune of £100,000 is what one person said to me. So you can see how it might evolve. If it doesn't involve Biodiversity UK, and you still want to do something, then you just got to get engage with either the local schools or your local community or your local authority and find out what they're doing and what they suggest and how you might help, or what ideas you might get from that. The trouble with that, and one of the reasons that I created Biodiversity UK, is people are running the businesses. Have they got time to go out and find this, do that? They haven't got the money to buy the land. They haven't got the expertise to create or run the projects and all of that sort of thing. So we're pretty much an easy one-stop shop, really. But there are lots of other organisations, I won't say similar to ours, but they run wildlife projects and whatever, or nature-based projects. Support them. You won't get from them what you'll get from Biodiversity UK in terms of data and reports and updates and blah, blah, blah. But at least you'll be doing something.
Lovely. Bob, it's been a pleasure. It really has. Thank you so much for coming on. Like, it's super, super important. And I think that we could talk about this for hours, to be fair, couldn't we? So it's...
Well, unfortunately, you could. And I do have to reel my neck in a lot, but because I start getting really passionate about it as well.
No,
but
it's brilliant. I appreciate your time.
Well, I'm very happy to do it, and I hope it works for you, and I hope your other podcasts. And yeah, you keep in touch with me, obviously, because I've got some great prospects for you for future podcasts. So
Oh, lovely.
they probably speak better. They probably speak better than me as well.
Anything?
I know. We appreciate your time, Bob.
All right. Thanks.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Thank
See you,
you.
mate.